Hi, and welcome to Inside Real Estate, where we bring you behind the scenes in real estate. My name's Carmine Pagano. I'm the broker at ERA Team 4 Homes. We're joined here today by Jeanette Russo. Hi, Jeanette.
How you doing, Carmine?
Good. Jeanette is one of the agents here at Team 4 Homes, and Jeanette's specialty is new construction. Jeanette has formerly worked with one of the large national home builders. And she's going to give us some information today about new construction. So, let's start out with, a lot of times people, when they're going into a real estate office in general, they a little nervous, number one. It's a new place. You're meeting somebody new. And I like to try and get, a little bit of that apprehension out by having maybe something, a forum like this, where they can kind of get beforehand an understanding of what's actually going to happen.
Sure.
So if there was a new construction buyer that was looking to buy real estate and they walked into our office today, why don't you try and give them an idea of kind of what would happen?
Okay, well, of course we would introduce ourselves to them, offer them coffee, sit them down, and just ask them what their needs are, what their interests are, what they're looking for, what stage of the game are they in looking for a home. Do they have a home to sell? Have they already been pre-qualified? And questions of that nature.
Why is it important? I know we talk about pre-qualification in new construction and in regular resale, and I guess the answer to why you need that is pretty important. So why don't we just maybe a little... why is it important to get pre-qualified? What's important about that?
Well, as a buyer, you need to know what you can afford, and then you have to then let the agent know, so that way we know what to show you. Obviously, we don't want to show you things that are not affordable to you.
What are the kind of questions that you ask, or what's the type of information specifically, let's say, to a new construction buyer that you need to help you figure out what it is that they want?
Okay, well, first of all, working in that side of the business as well, one of the things that I used to do is always ask people, first of all, if they had a home to sell. That's very important, because then that would determine whether or not they can actually go through the whole building process, which can take a year, sometimes longer, or whether or not they were ready to go right away, and then therefore I would show them inventory homes that the builder has put up with no buyer in mind. So these are, ready to go homes.
So there's actually a time frame involved, potentially.
Oh, absolutely.
So if they want to start from scratch and they want to, let's say, pick a particular lot in a particular spot, and they like that, what's, in general, obviously each builder is different, but in general, if you're starting from today, what kind of time frame are you talking about there?
Well, it depends what time of the year you're going for the new construction. If you're starting in the spring, you can be looking at anywhere between 6 to 8 months. And if you're signing contracts, let's say during the winter, it can take up to a year, depending.
And that's if you're starting from scratch. Now, like you just said a few minutes ago, is in this particular market that we're in right now, there's some inventory out there that builders have, so that, and I'm assuming that they have various stages of, they're at various stages of completion. So why is that helpful for a new buyer to know? Just a little explanation as to, how would that work? If a builder's halfway through building a house, how would that work?
Okay, well, typically when a builder has a spec home that they're building, they normally predetermine before they start construction what is going to go into that home in terms of upgrades and things like that. And what color stain, hardwood floor, and so forth. But if you come during the process before they actually get to that point in the construction, the good thing is that then you have the option. You can change some of the things that they were thinking of putting into the home. So it does give you, an opportunity to customize the home somewhat to your specifications. Normally, even if they haven't started a home, Usually you can't change walls and things like that because they've already gotten the approvals for the home a certain way.
Mhm.
But I'm talking about more the cosmetics.
Okay.
Like, choose the color rug that you would like, the color tiles that you would like, what type of tiles. They may have they have all different levels of upgrades that they put into a home. And so if they haven't gotten to that point where they've ordered it, then you have an opportunity to go and choose what you like.
That's good. People have a choice. Really, when they start to look at new construction, they kind of have a couple of different ways of going about it. Most people tend to look in a newspaper or look online and find a construction site that they like and drive out to the construction site and speak to the person that's on the construction site.
Yes.
That's one way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
The other way of doing it, which is obviously what we like to have people consider,
Mm-hmm.
at least, is walking into a real estate company like ours and sitting down with someone like you who has
Mm-hmm.
worked on the other side, but have someone like you represent them in a new construction process. Why should somebody do that as opposed to going directly in to a construction site?
That's a great question. Certainly, if you have experience already and you've gone through the new construction process, it's okay if you decide to do it on your own and not go to a real estate company. But if you've never done it before, it's very important that you go to someone who is knowledgeable. There's a lot of things. Buying a new home is very, very different than buying a resale. For instance, typically when you see a new community advertised and they say, well, we have homes starting from $500 all the way up to $700. You might be in that $500,000 range, and he says, wow, that's great. But what you don't know is that that's just a starting price. And typically what they do is the starting price normally has no upgrades whatsoever. It's just all the standards. And a lot of the times when in a big community, they'll put up one or two models.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get a feel, for the floor plans that they offer and such. The thing that you need to be aware of as a buyer is what in that home that I'm seeing that I think it's so beautiful, what comes with the home? If I decide to buy the home the way it is this all standard or what are the upgrades? What I've come to realize that a lot of the model homes have structural upgrades as well as bells and whistles. The structural upgrades can sometimes be about $100,000 in a model home of structural upgrades because the builder wants to show the buyers all the possibilities of a particular floor plan. All the different things that can be done, additions that can be added, rooms that can be blown out a couple of feet so it can be larger and so forth. And then, of course, a lot of bells and whistles. So it's very, very important to know ahead of time what are the standards. And then in my price range, do I like this house? All right, this house is $500,000, but these are the standards. Can I live with those standards if I build this house? Is it something that I like? Is it what I'm looking for?
Mm-hmm.
So certainly that's important. The other thing is that they usually don't say is a lot of the home sites in a community have lot premiums.
Mm-hmm.
So even if the starting price is $500,000 and you happen to select a certain home site, but that home site has a lot premium of, let's say, $15,000, $25,000, well, technically you're not going to get that home for $500,000.
Of course.
So there's a lot of things in that nature that someone like myself who is knowledgeable in this can certainly bring to the attention of the buyer, make them aware of things that they wouldn't know themselves. And it's not like the salesperson is going to start bringing up all these things. Once you sit down and start going through the process, you realize, wow, I thought I was in this price range, but to get the house the way I want it, it's so much more.
Here's it's one of the thoughts I was having while you were talking is, if I walk into whatever XYZ builder's site,
Mm-hmm.
subdivision, and does that salesperson have any incentive to show me anything other than the site that I'm on? Meaning, if there was a builder down the street that had a house that, something that met my criteria better, is there any reason for that salesperson to show me that? Only
if it's her builder, his or her builder building in that other community. That would be the only incentive. But typically, no, their incentive is to sell the homes in that particular community that they're at.
So that's another advantage to sitting with somebody like you is that not only do you know about this particular project, and that maybe that's important to know, is that for the most part, an agent like yourself can show any community that's available. Toll Brothers, Lennar, some of the local builders, they're all willing to work with an agent like yourself.
Absolutely.
So there isn't a bit of an advantage to working with somebody like you. Number one, if somebody's unfamiliar with the area, or even if they're familiar with the area, they've been living here for 50 years, they don't necessarily know every new construction project that's available.
Correct.
Well, I think that was a reasonably good little primer on new construction.
Great.
And I thank you very much for joining us.
You're very welcome.
And I thank you all for joining us on Inside Real Estate, and we'll see you next time.
So long.